James is having Blackberry kiwi waffles. I'm going to be talking about Dr. Bell and Mr. Doyle and all of these other DVDs. And then James is going to talk about some Sophocles.
Yeah, Sophocles, a heathen play. We have other plays of his preserved.
So, Dr. Bell and Mr. Doyle, well, you may have noticed that was the top of the stack, and I always do the best one on the top of the stack and the worst on the bottom. So, this was the best Sherlock Holmes story I ever heard, I ever saw. And it wasn't a Sherlock Holmes story. It was the inspiration for the Sherlock Holmes stories, and it's awesome. Awesome! And it went on for quite a time. I don't know how long it says on here, but anyway, it was a lot longer than one would expect. But it did not seem long, and I wanted it to go on forever. I was like, oh, if only they'd made a series of this, because I want to hear about all their other adventures too. But anyway, excellent. Excellent.
Now it's based on real characters.
Yes. Yes, this is the truth behind
Arthur
it.
Conan Doyle's the guy that wrote the Sherlock Holmes series.
Yeah, so that's the Mr. Doyle there.
Apparently, the Dr. Bell there is a professor of sorts, and I'd heard that there was someone called Bell who'd been the inspiration.
Yeah,
for,
but I hadn't realized that he
was
had been an instructor of his, or all that.
An instructor of Doyle's.
Yeah, I didn't know that they were that close.
I didn't know that either.
Anyway.
Now, what did this professor teach?
Medicine. He was trying to teach forensic sort of medicine, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
And before, when nobody was doing it. And excellent. Anyway, everyone needs to watch that. So good.
So apparently this guy was a bit of a polymath, but maybe he wasn't. Maybe it's just in medicine. The Bell character.
Well, he seemed to be very observant, and so he was like, all the details matter. You got to be observant about all these things, right? And so, anyway, Let There Be Drums, and this one has Mickey Hart and all sorts of other people.
Bill Kreutzmann are the two main producers, I think, of the three. And so both were percussionists / drummers for.
I didn't watch this. James said it was very good, though, so that's why it got to be second.
Yeah, I ended up ruining my back, hopefully for just a while watching it.
Yeah.
It went on for quite a while, and maybe later on, after Pauline goes through those, I might wax eloquent or try to.
About it further. Yeah, because exactly. James really likes music stuff. So, Distorted, I like Christina Ricci and John Cusack, so seeing them together in a movie, it worked for me. And I mean, it's something that gets you thinking. The last time I was doing a video review series, I was talking about mind control and stuff like that, and how it's a concern. I mean, you don't know how many of the thoughts that you were the values that you were raised to have, how many of them are really yours, and where did they come from? Did they come from greater society? Did they come from your parents? Or was it something else? Are you just a marketing tool or whatever? So this is back along that same lines. This is another story about mind control, and it was interesting. It wasn't as good as the one that I put on the top of the stack the last time when I reviewed some stuff about mind control, but I enjoyed it, and I think anyone would. I don't think that there would be apartment buildings where they'd be, but whatever,
Where
don't
was
know.
It supposed to be? You got a rough idea?
I don't know.
Never mind.
Doesn't matter. Raised by Wolves 2 from Ridley Scott. Now, the first disc of this is 3 discs in this series, and the first disc I was like, oh, this is so boring. Why did Ridley Scott get involved with this? And then the beginning of the second disc, I'm like, oh yeah, this is going somewhere. So don't give up on it right away. It is worth looking into. In spite of the terrible actors. I mean, honestly, there's some good actors out there, and why pick out the bad ones to be in sci-fi stuff? I don't know, but it seems to be common to pick out really bad actors for sci-fi
Who's
stuff.
that one guy who he was on we kind of called him a space slut or something. Kevin Sebo or something?
Yeah, you don't like him.
What is his name?
Sorbo. Yeah. But the L Word, Generation Q Season 2. Now, at first, I might have seen this kicking around the library, and I would have thought, oh yeah, I saw the L Word stuff way back. But they've brought it back out again, and honestly, the people, all the L Word people are really hot and everything, and I didn't find them attractive because their personalities and stuff. I just and the only one. The one that made it worth watching was Rosie O'Donnell. She is in this season of the L Word, and that's it. If they don't manage to keep her on for next season, I don't want anything to do with it. Because it's just a soap opera, or would you call it a sex opera? Because honestly, I think they have it timed out. They're like, oh geez, we've been having too much story for 12 minutes, so we have to have people having sex again. And the sex doesn't even look, it's so over dramatized that it doesn't even seem real. It's like, honestly, anyway, whatever. I didn't think that much of it. But at the same time, there was Rosie O'Donnell, and she was great.
I figured somewhere between half a dozen or a dozen women on the front cover. It's right in between. It's 9.
Speaking of that, like, look at how they're all the same height on the cover. Well, they're not in the show, so why did they do that? Is there some sort of art message behind that? Like, we're all equal, even though some of us are taller or shorter. What? Well, I don't know. Like, did they just think it'd make a nice, pretty little line having them all the same height?
I think they're showing it's diverse, but all colors. There's it really is quite diverse there. What they call diverse.
Superficially diverse, because they're not. Anyway.
It's stunning. Like universities think that they're diverse, go around, and yet the opinions expressed at university are that kind of thing.
NCIS, the 19th season. 19th season? My mom likes this show. And...
What does that stand for, NCIS?
I don't know, naval something, who cares?
Okay.
So, what is his name? Mark Harmon? Is that his name?
He's been around forever.
Very handsome. And I noticed that, like, watching the first disc of it, I was like, man, his lips are blue. He has some serious heart problems. And when because my lips go blue sometimes, but they go back to normal, and his were like mostly just blue. And
he has put on a little bit of weight.
No, he looks good. He's just, he has some heart problems. So he's old.
You've heard about him, have you?
His lips are blue. Okay, it's obvious.
Okay.
So anyway, they're talking in the show about, like, people are saying, oh, you're not gonna die. I knew you weren't gonna blow up in a boat because you're gonna die rescuing some orphans or some whatever. And I was thinking, no man, he's gonna die from a heart attack. Look at his lips. But anyway, it got a little more interesting near the end of the first disc. So I've never really gotten into this series. I think it's maybe made for older people than me, and not me. Anyway, I don't know. But, so I've never cared for it, so I didn't really care for it this time either.
Maybe in between our ages. I can remember when Mark broke in. There was a big kerfuffle. His dad apparently was a huge star football player of all things.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think they were asking him, so your dad must have taught you how to play football? Nah, I think that was... I I kind of get the impression he barely knew his dad was a football star. He might have won the Heisman Trophy or something like that. His dad.
Interesting.
Heisman Trophy would be the most valuable college football player in a year. Could be wrong though.
So now we're getting down to stuff that I really didn't care for. We have Active Violence and Mystery Street.
Film noir, classic collection.
Yeah.
That's how it advertises itself.
And I don't know. Not that bad, not that good.
I caught.
Really worth
It's
watching.
nice to see Ricardo Montalban before he became Fantasy Island fella. I got that right away.
I didn't.
Yeah, exactly right. But you kind of recognize him now that long.
Yeah, well, once you said that, then I was like, oh yeah, that's good.
There's some name players here aside from Ricardo. There's Janet Leigh and Van Heflin and Robert Ryan.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at knowing these. They're probably all pretty good.
No, that's fine. Lost Transmissions. I liked Simon Pegg, and I liked seeing him in this. I just, I didn't really think that they had much to make a movie about, honestly.
Yeah, he's generally a comedy kind of actor. Excuse me.
Yeah, so it was interesting seeing him in a different role. He wasn't doing comedy in this at all.
It didn't look like a comedy cover. Isn't that
Nope,
amazing?
and
Yeah.
it was not.
Pick that up.
And I did like the woman singing her songs and him helping her along with that. And I thought, yeah, you know, that's really great. And then when she started writing for somebody else, and then you heard the big name singer just belting out the tune when it wasn't appropriate, you know, it was like the tune wasn't meant to be sung that way. And which is funny because today we were in Bulk Barn, and I heard a cover of a Heart song.
Which one is it? How Can You
Alone.
Leave Me Alone? Or what?
Alone.
It's just called Alone.
So we were in there, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, man, this woman has a nice voice and everything, but
Not strong.
no. And why would you try to cover a song that was done by Ann Wilson? Why? And nobody is going to have those pipes. Nobody.
The funny thing
she was
is,
awesome.
she was pretty
and
good
apparently
at singing.
she still is.
Singing kind of laid back stuff as well.
Yeah,
it wasn't
she's
just her
awesome.
sister who would sing some of the wimpier sounding songs. I don't mean really wimpy, but not.
No, she does Nancy does a great job
She
too.
can do
You know,
both,
she has a
yeah.
nice voice, and
Some people have trouble dialing it back, but she could dial it back.
anyway, this Betty Davis Turner Classic Movies collection has Now, Voyager, Dark Victory, Old Acquaintance, and Jezebel.
Was it colorized? Was
No.
it Turner who did colorization the first? Anyway, I don't know.
But anyway, no, the old ones that I watched were black and white ones, and they were
Yeah, but that wasn't
fine.
Ted Turner
But
stuff.
honestly, I kind of liked when people ask me, oh, of the old actresses from 50s and even earlier, which do you think are the most beautiful? And I like Betty Grable, and who else? Betty Davis.
You like Betty Davis?
I did, and I still do,
Oh, yeah.
because she had a very different look.
Yeah, she
A
did.
lot of the other actresses, they'd have a similar sort of look, and there's a lot of shows that I've watched. It's worse nowadays. You watch shows in recent times, and you'll go, okay, wait a minute, this is soap opera, and I'm supposed to distinguish these characters, but they must all go to the same plastic surgeon
Oh,
because
exactly right.
they look exactly the same.
Yeah, it's
So she had a different look, and I did like that
It's-
they went with a woman with a very different look. She wasn't tall. She didn't have classic kind of good looks or anything, and she often played stronger women, or women that really screwed up, or whatever. You know, they weren't roles that were really classic sort of women roles either. So I like that.
Well, she had some acting chops.
She did.
Unlike
Yeah.
almost all of her contemporaries.
But I didn't care for those movies anyway.
Oh, so it goes.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of Dark Victory and Jezebel. Old acquaintance, and now Voyager. I don't know. I haven't heard of those. Anyway.
At Eternity's Gate. This is William Dafoe did a good job, and I liked seeing the art. It's about what's his name?
Van Gogh.
Yeah, it's about Van Gogh. So I liked seeing the art, and they cast people that seemed believable in the roles and everything. They just didn't have enough story to hang it on, honestly, which sounds funny because anybody that learns just a little bit about Vincent Van Gogh thinks, wow, there's a lot of story there.
Yeah.
But somehow not in this.
Who did they have playing Gauguin?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny they got a Dutch guy playing a Dutch guy. I'm pretty sure Willem Dafoe.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Dafoe, like the novelist, Dafoe, the English novelist. I think his ancestors apparently escaped from Holland to Dafoe. You can see how it's got. Oh, yeah, Dafoe.
And
maybe misspelled it.
Here I put Top Gun Maverick. This one I have to return today because there's like 40 people have it on hold. Which, if you look at the no overdue fines for Lethbridge patrons, I wonder how that's working out for them, because I don't really have to return it, I guess, because.
Yeah, but 40 people, you don't want to.
But I don't want, you know.
You don't want to disappoint them.
No,
they'll
they
be disappointed by the movie.
Exactly. Like I watched this and I got 16 minutes into it, and I'm like, I can't do this. And I ended up watching a bunch of other stuff instead, and this stayed near the bottom of the stack. And you know, I didn't like the first movie. I didn't like Top Gun, the original, and I know a lot of people did. I did not, but yet I made it through it. This one I didn't even like. I'm like, oh, okay, so guy likes to fly airplanes fast, whatever.
Yeah.
And really like, okay, I just don't care. So honestly, NCIS got a better rating from me than this. I didn't care for this at all. I planned to go back to it, and I just, every time I thought about going back to it, I'm like, no, I'll put something else on instead. Yeah. It was that bad.
Yeah, the original Top Gun, following up on Risky Business, it took me a while to realize, hey, this ain't no party, this ain't no disco, this ain't the 70s, much less the 60s, when these sorts of things came out. Risky Business is about capitalism, right? That's okay. And so on and so forth. So here it's about the original one, about militarism. This is probably the same thing. They got the cooperation, the original one, of the U.S. Air Force and stuff like that. So, creepy movie, the original. I presume this one was too. And the less said about Risky Business, the better.
So I don't know why they're putting, or why they put Maverick out now, or like. I could have understood if they did that when they were trying to elect, who was it?
Trump.
No, they were trying to elect somebody,
Bush
and they were trying to market him as a maverick. It was, what's his name?
In America?
Who cares? Yeah, he was just a loser.
How long ago?
Not that long ago. He was the one who was running, and with that hot little woman from Alaska.
Oh, McCain.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was an Air Force guy too. I think he was Air Force. He might have been Navy Air Force because he was, I think, flying off aircraft carriers. They say don't speak ill of the dead, but what can they do about it? But he was such a coward. If you look at the videos or the camera shots of when the aircraft carrier caught on fire that he was on, he came in. He was such a coward. He had his so I'm not sure exactly, like if he had a crash or something like that on the deck of the aircraft carrier. And what happened is his bombs ended up flying loose on, like this thing would be pitching.
So he would have ejected them.
He ejected them. He was such a coward. He said, let other people die. I'm going to just, I'm not going to go up with my plane or stuff like that. I've never heard any analysis. How did his stuff get loose?
Yeah.
How did his bombs get loose on the deck of the aircraft carrier? Just come in. It's not as though they were loading them up.
After we collided, This got the bottom of the stack rating. The worst movie of the whole bunch of them. And honestly, it was just an ad for Victoria's Secret.
Oh my gosh.
On a woman who looked like she was about 15. And really, it's kind of, it seemed like a mid-teen sort of movie with a lot of sex for no good reason. There wasn't enough story. It reminded me a lot of the L Word, only worse, way worse.
Well, the L Word doesn't have underage people.
Or the people who looked like, I'm sure she would have been 18. Well,
of course,
know. But she looked younger, and it creeped me out.
Yeah,
and it seemed like a mid-teen sort of movie, so it seemed like that's who they'd be marketing to. And honestly, I felt dirty watching it, and I didn't want to see, like, I saw Victoria's Secret, the name on her underwear more than once. So
course.
It was obviously a paid advertisement for it, and gross on somebody who looks young. Yuck.
Wait, did they actually, were they some of the producers of this thing?
They could have been. But honestly, and it says that this is based on the best-selling worldwide phenomenon. And
what is that?
I don't know. It must have been a popular book. And
what's the book called?
The movie wasn't arranged really well. It was like something happens at the beginning, and then at the end it's kind of explained, but it's like, why is it even in there? Like, put that in a different movie or something. Like, it feels like this wants to be a mini series more than a movie. Yeah. And maybe they thought they'd make more money releasing it as a movie or something, and that's why they did. But it doesn't work. It does not work, and gross. I don't want to see people who look like they're 15.
Well, who goes to movies anymore? Isn't it just teenagers?
I don't know.
Maybe parents take their kids to.
I don't know.
The movies are so loud nowadays. Kids will be.
Well, it is terrible.
They'll be screaming about the noise.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Well, anyway, you can go ahead and talk about whatever you want to talk about, because I'm all done with this.
Okay, so maybe you can check, see how much time we have.
Okay. Oh, you wanted to talk about this.
Like the big drums. So.
Yeah. Oh, you still have 8 minutes.
Okay, there we go. So it features Stuart Copeland, formerly of the Police, Mickey Hart, formerly of the Grateful Dead, Taylor Hawkins, Bill Kreutzmann, formerly of the Grateful Dead, Chad Smith. I should know these. Is he with the Foo Fighters or something like that? Ringo Starr. I wonder which group he'd belong to. It has the Beatles
it says at the bottom. I bet
kind of
that's
like crossed over.
Yeah.
Grateful Dead,
So
Guns N' Roses. Is that is that Chad Smith or Taylor Hawkins? I forgot. No, hold on. They've got a guy. He's kind of talks like this because he gets